G'day guys, Justin here coming at you with the start of my 2018-2019 NBA season coverage, starting with my NBA season preview for 2018-2019. Here I'll be covering the best teams, the best players, the best newcomers, the surprise packets, the disappointments, and the big stories. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with my best teams, I'll be covering the Eastern Conference, and I think the champion of the Eastern Conference this year will be none other than the Boston Celtics. The removal of LeBron James and the dismantling of his quote-unquote super team will allow them to rise through the ranks. I don't see many teams challenging them. Gordon Hayward back, Kyrie, Tatum, Bryan, Rozier, all these kind of guys, all the guys that really stood up in the playoffs last year. Boston's proved to be a really hungry team, a team that wants to kick your ass, take your prisoner, and pretty much just want to dominate the league. They're a team that's out to beat Golden State and anyone in their path. Runner-up, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. I think they'll slot into the Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll see a bit of old-school action between the 76ers and the Celtics. Guys like Simmons, guys like Fultz, guys like Embiid, and whatnot. We'll see an interesting lineup this coming season. So let's see how that one goes. Let me know what you think. I think Boston will end up getting the edge on Philadelphia. 1 and 2 seedings there. Don't be surprised to see other teams in the mix as well. Over in the Western Conference, it's very hard to go against the reigning, defending, two-time back-to-back champions, 3 of the last 4 years, the Golden State Warriors. It's not going to be hard to see that they're going to be the team to beat. There's no doubt about it. Kevin Durant, back-to-back Finals MVPs. He's aiming probably for a third Finals MVP, and I'm going to mention him a little later on in the video. Steph Curry will probably be limited a little bit this year with some ankle complaints last season, but I do feel that Klay Thompson will be able to step up in his absence. The team's not overly deep, but they do enough. I mean, they half-assed around last season and still managed to pull in the 2nd seed in the West, so a full season should do them well. Durant will be gunning for that 3rd straight championship and that 3rd straight Finals MVP to sort of have that little bit of edge legacy-wise on LeBron there in any sort of argument. Durant's form certainly has him in line to be arguably the greatest small forward in NBA Finals history, so we'll see how that goes. And my runner-up, surprisingly probably for a few people, is going to be the Utah Jazz. I think the 12 months that they've had together, Donovan Mitchell leading from the front, Rudy Gobert, guys like Ricky Rubio joining the team as well. And I'm trying to think, name escapes me at the moment, but Joe Ingles is another one. Name escapes me at the time, sorry about that. But they are a good, young and up-and-coming, well-rounded squad. They're coached well. And they don't let anything get ahead of them. So if they can maintain their composure, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to succeed to a high level in season 2018-2019. Mitchell with a bit of a chip on the shoulder after not winning Rookie of the Year last year certainly stepped up in the playoffs along with Jason Tatum over in the Eastern Conference. But it will be interesting to see how the Jazz go. But yes, I would not be surprised to see the Jazz as the 2nd seed, or in fact the runner-up in the Western Conference for season 2018-2019. The MVP race, I think it's a 2-horse race. My MVP is most likely going to be Kevin Durant with limited time by Steph Curry. That gives Durant more freedom to move and do his thing. As I mentioned, I think Klay Thompson's going to be looking for a payout over the off-season, so don't be surprised if he starts really wanting to step up. But this is potentially the last time Durant's going to get at winning that MVP, with the likes of Giannis coming through, with the likes of an Anthony Davis coming through. It'll be quite interesting to see. Guys like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will also make it tough. I mean, hell, I didn't even mention the fact that DeMarcus Cousins has joined this Golden State team, so it's going to be very hard to beat. But Durant, I think it's his last time to win MVP, and I think he'll win it from the runner-up, LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers. Bloody weird is that to say. Anyway, I think the media hype is pretty much the only reason LeBron's going to get to that. If the Lakers get past the 6th seed, you know, if the Lakers get anywhere between the 4th and the 6th seed, then he'll definitely be the runner-up. Hell, if he makes a top 3 seed in the West, then there's no doubt he'll win the MVP. But for me, it's going to be Kevin Durant, a limited Steph Curry here. I mean, back-to-back Finals MVPs. He's the talk of the town at the moment. He's pretty much the best player in the game, so there's no reason why he can't win the MVP. But as I mentioned, LeBron James, the media hype of Los Angeles, the big media market, And his Mud Squad, it's probably the worst nickname for a squad I've ever heard, and certainly an excuse is already made heading into the season. Yeah, I just think the media hype will get him a runner-up MVP or potentially an MVP. Looking at my, started a little bit earlier there. My Defensive Player of the Year this year is going to be Anthony Davis. I thought he was unlucky not to win Defensive Player of the Year last year. This is probably the best all-around player in basketball. If he's not the best player, then he's certainly got to be number 2. But I think Davis is really going to be hungry this year. He's got a decent little squad there in New Orleans with a few bigs to support him. So I think that'll allow him to open his game up a little bit more. But don't be shocked to see Anthony Davis the Defensive Player of the Year. And my runner-up playing for Toronto after sitting the season out with a suspected injury, quote-unquote suspected there. Kawhi Leonard, I think it's a redeemed season for him. He's going to have to put something in. He's going to have to push Toronto to at least the 3rd seed in the East and try and push them to the Eastern Conference Finals and over the hump into the finals. But I do feel that he's going to he's that perennial candidate when he is in full flight for Defensive Player of the Year. He'd be looking for what would be his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year, I do believe. And one of only 2 active players, along with Jimmy Butler, to have more steals than career fouls. So he is a good on-ball defender. He's a good two-way player. If he can take away his tendencies to not necessarily step up when it matters, then I feel that he'll certainly have a shot at the Defensive Player of the Year, much like Davis. I mean, when they're both on song, probably the best two-way players in the game, and I think these 2 gentlemen will certainly be in the conversation and 1 and 2 in the Defensive Player of the Year. Rookie of the Year, I can't say I know too much about the rookie class, but I do know the 2 most talked about guys at the moment are Luka Doncic and Mo Bamba, and I believe that'll be the order they go in for Rookie of the Year. I don't have too much to comment on Rookie of the Year. Seen a bit of Mo, a big, powerful dude who's capable of dunking the ball and bullying guys. Probably needs to put a bit of mass on, though. But Luka Doncic, he's played with men over in Europe. He does have that ability. Everyone in Dallas is very impressed with him to the point where Dirk Nowitzki is actually going to come off the bench for him. So Dirk showing the ultimate respect for the Rook there. Hopefully he can repay the favour. And I just feel he's going to be the next face of the Dallas franchise, probably take over from Dirk. And I think Cuban's going to want to win a couple of rings with him. There's no doubt about it. Bamba playing with Orlando will be an interesting fit. But I just think that Doncic having played with men and having the experience of playing in a man's league in Europe, albeit in Europe, will just give him the edge, but Mo's certainly going to be in contention as well. Now to the surprise packets of the season. My players that will surprise everyone this year will be Jimmy Butler and LaMarcus Aldridge. I think these 2 guys are going to being the leaders of teams that aren't necessarily contenders, but a good, solid team to allow them to flourish once again and show why they are considered 2 of the best players in basketball. Aldridge, for me, one of the 10 best players last year. Butler, when on the floor, was definitely a top 10 player last year. Both capable of playing both ends. More so Butler, but Aldridge certainly no slouch. He's going to carry a fair bit of a load there in San Antonio. Many people are going to be sitting there going, oh, well, they gathered DeMar DeRozan. That's all very well and good, but he wanted to escape Portland to avoid ineffective shot jackers with a lack of defense. And unfortunately, he's managed to get another one in DeMar DeRozan. Hopefully him and Rudy Gay can somewhat help him out, but it's going to be very interesting to see how he and Patty Mills work as big man, little man combo, and how guys like Rudy Gay can complement them along with DeMar DeRozan. Butler has been very, very interesting. They wanted the Timberwolves to form with Thibodeau. That didn't happen. He's not a fan of Karl Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins, from what I can gather. So it'll be very interesting. He's going to have a lot of fire in the belly. Big talk about him going to Miami. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits in with Waiters and Ellington and Ennis and all that sort of stuff there. So if he can fit in and he can play the lead role, he's a hard grit player, something that Pat Riley will like, certainly something Spoelstra will like to coach. So don't be surprised to see Butler up there in amongst the conversation of the best players in the league. And my surprise packets are no doubt the Utah Jazz, as I mentioned in the Western Conference before. I've outlined those reasons. But in the East, I have the Indiana Pacers. I think that Miles Turner, I think that Bogdanovic, and particularly Victor Oladipo are going to be the big 3 in the East that a lot of people are going to have some problems with. Able to stretch the floor, able to play some defense. They'll be quite interesting. Don't be surprised to see Oladipo, again, one of the perennial players of the league now. Made a massive step last year. Don't be surprised to see him in contention for things like the scoring title, the steals title, Defensive Player of the Year. and potentially the MVP if the Pacers put on a really good season. I expect the Pacers to be certainly up there in that top 4 of the Eastern Conference and potentially pushing the 3 and the 2 seed. So it will be interesting to see how they go. I don't see the Pacers going a long way just because their shortcomings can be like dreadful, but their ability to play good basketball is still certainly there. So I would expect to see the Pacers, along with the Utah Jazz, being the surprise packet teams of 2018-2019, and you'll be surprised at just exactly how much LaMarcus Aldridge and Jimmy Butler do for their respective franchises. With surprises come disappointments, and it's going to be no shock here, probably to a lot of people, that my disappointing players for 2018-19 will no doubt be John Wall and Carmelo Anthony. John Wall's been injured, but he's proving to be a bit of a locker room cancer recently, with a lot of players not really wanting to play with him, and a lot of talk being that Wall wants out, or the players want Wall out of Washington. He can prove to be inefficient at times. I mean, he's a 20 and 10 guy, there's no doubt about it, but his shooting's inefficient. He isn't the greatest defender. And he just probably needs to put a little bit more work in on both ends of the floor. Get the most out of his teammates if he can. He's got an okay squad there in Washington. But likewise, John Wall being disappointing means the Wizards will be disappointing. If Wall was able to play to that full potential constantly, I don't think we'd even be worried about their ability to deliver. But his inconsistency, the talk of him being a real locker room cancer, is certainly going to hurt him, and I think it's going to hurt the Wizards as well. And I think this could be the last year we see John Wall in a Washington uniform. And for my Rockets, the stupidest decision of the offseason to sign Carmelo Anthony, that is definitely going to hamper us. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you only had to see the lack of effect he had on OKC. Paul George started slowly, and when he was actually able to get more of the ball and get into the flow of his game, despite playing around Russell Westbrook, he was a pretty good player. Unfortunately, Melo wasn't able to capitalise on that. A guy who's underachieved pretty much for most of his year. Don't be shocked to see him underachieve again. And again, the disappointment after taking the defending NBA champions to 7 games in the Western Conference, to me, will be the Rockets. I don't see them doing too much this year with Melo on the team. They've had to trade away a few different pieces as well, which is quite unfortunate. But yeah, don't be shocked to see the Rockets float down the rankings in the Western Conference. Still a good team. I mean, still got James Harden, still got Chris Paul. I mean, you know, Harden is now the MVP, defending MVP, averaged 30 a game last year. Chris Paul, still one of the elite point guards of the league when he's on him, and he proved just how pivotal he was to that Houston side last year. And yeah, it's just going to be really interesting. Another name escapes me. It happens all the time. I don't know why it does it, but it just has. It's gone. It's a big fella. Name's gone again. It shouldn't have gone. I should have had it right here. Doesn't matter. Clint Capella, that was it. Capella's going to be another pivotal player for here. I mean, he might lead the league in rebounds with the way James Harden and Carmelo shoot, so he'll be another factor for the Rockets. But I just feel Melo's going to be too much to overcome for this team. So disappointing players for the year, probably going to be John Wall and Carmelo Anthony, and in turn that will be leaving Washington and Houston to lick their wounds and wonder what could have been for season 18-19. Finally, the headline of the year, surprise, surprise, it's always going to be LeBron in LA. I mean, the Los Angeles media circle alone is going to cause a heap of drama on this. There's already been a lot of talk and some questions about his loyalty and just what he'll bring to the team. A lot of LA fans, particularly those that were there through the Kobe and Shaq years, not necessarily liking this idea. But at the end of the day, LeBron is a top 5, top 10 player of all time. We do have to pay respect there, but I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how he fits in. Guys like Lance Stevenson, not a great three-point shooter. Michael Beasley, not a great three-point shooter. Rajon Rondo, not a great jump shooter in general. JaVale McGee, I don't know what he was thinking. Lonzo Ball has the potential to be a good to very good point guard in this league, but I mean, you're going to have to imagine it's going to stagnate his offense. Guys like Ingram and Kuzma are certainly going to have to do some work if they want their own shots and their own possession, because the ball magnet that is LeBron is going to stand there and just wait till they get in a position. Otherwise, he's just going to be whacking up jumpers. Expect this to be one of LeBron's low years. However, because he's in LA, it'll be the greatest thing ever. And again, I think the fact that he's going to be in that LA media market is what is essentially going to win him an MVP, but that proves to be seen. So LeBron in LA is going to be the story of the year no matter what. If he didn't go to LA or Chicago, he would have had to have gone to somewhere like a Boston or a New York to get this kind of media coverage, but we'll see how it happens. But LeBron in LA, most certainly the headline of the year for 2018-2019. And that's all I've got time for, guys. Thank you very much for listening and joining into the video. Hit that like button, leave a comment and leave your feedback for the preview. Who's your MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year? Who do you think is going to surprise us? Who's probably going to be a disappointment, your headline of the year? And who do you think will win each respective conference? Subscribe to the channel for more content throughout the year. I will be giving you weekly NBA updates in regards to who my MVP will be throughout the season, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But in general, guys, it's going to be pretty much the same sort of coverage as last year. Any major news stories or headlines I'll give on here and leave my thoughts, but other than that, pretty basic stuff similar to last year. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I'm over and out. Hit me up on Twitter, Justin_G_Bryan. Currently got a poll. I'll try and get a poll going each week for you guys to go and check out. My current poll is, who do you feel will cop most of the blame for LeBron James's shortcomings in the 18-19 season? Lonzo Ball clearly winning that with 71% last time I checked. Your other options include Michael Beasley, Lance Stevenson, and Rajon Rondo. So again, guys, thank you very much for tuning into the video. Hit that like button, leave a comment, leave your feedback on your preview for the season, and subscribe to the channel for more videos during the 2018-19 season. Hit me up on Twitter, Justin_G_Bryan. I'm out.